In this video, Coach Corey Carlin from Ball State is working with his setters and middle attackers relative to hitting shots around the block. The foam block that you see is a pretty good teaching tool in terms of it establishes an area that the setters and hitters need to avoid, and they work on hitting around the blocker's hands. But going into more detail, so many setters, when they're running a quick attack, especially a one ball, they just kind of throw the ball up in the air, and sometimes right in front of the blocker's hands. So, specifically what the setters are working on in this is being able to lead the attacker either to the right shoulder or pushing it across, as you see there, to the left shoulder and allowing a cutback one ball to be hit. So the setter has certainly specific responsibilities in terms of they have to be able to locate the block, in this case the blocker's hands, and then lead the attacker off her right shoulder where the ball is going to be hit to left back or her left shoulder. So often, as you can see in this, the ball is put right in the middle, and this makes it hard for the attacker to avoid the block. So the setters have to be very precise. They have to locate the block, they have to locate the hitter, and then lead the hitter where they're going to be the most successful. Now, it's the responsibility, obviously, of the attackers to establish a court position where they're easy for the setter to locate. If they're inconsistent with their court position or they're late and the setter can't see them, then the setter's job gets to be a little bit more problematic. So both parties, have a vested interest in success. Now you're going to see the hitters coming from behind the setter to in front of the setter, which certainly happens both in some serve-receive patterns as well as transition from blocking to attacking. The goal is still the same. The setter has to lead the hitter away from the blocker's hands. And in this situation, it's a little bit more challenging for the hitter, but they have to establish a good positional relationship with the setter. A couple things in terms of the learning curve. We want to work really hard, at least I would recommend, even though the setter's coming from behind, the hitter's coming from behind the setter to in front, they still want to leave the ground with their hips facing where the ball's coming from. And some of these middles are kind of struggling with that. They're kind of facing the block or they're facing away from the setter. This was pretty good here in terms of kind of getting the hips around. So you want to get that left toe around and facing back towards the setter, and that will open up the hips, and so in essence the hitter is jumping facing the left back area or left back digger, and then they can always rotate in the air and hit the cutback shot. And here you see the coach emphasizing where he wants the feet to be as they leave the ground. And I think this is a pretty good point that he's making. The easy play is to kind of jump away from the setter, and it's not that it's the wrong play, and I think there's certainly a time and a place for this to happen, but the setter and the hitter have to be on the same page, so that if the setter knows that the hitter is kind of jumping away from her, kind of coming, the angle of her approach is from behind to in front, and I'm going to kind of drift away from the setter, then the setter has to lead them that direction. So these are, I think, quality reps taking place where the setter is working on her position. And here I slowed this one down because this hitter does a really good job, I think, of getting her hips around and facing where the ball is coming from. That allows her to hit that ball towards the left back corner, even though she's coming from a challenging angle on her approach. So I think these reps are quality, and I think the setter is really working on setting to the right shoulder, which allows the ball to be attacked towards the left back digger, or as you see there, setting to the left shoulder where the hitter can just rotate the hips and hit back towards the right back defender. So both the middle hitters and the setters have their responsibilities for the success of the team here. And the next thing you can do is have the blockers move their hands, to create a challenge for the attackers. But that's certainly a secondary priority. So there's some good reps here done by the Ball State middles, and I think there's some very good teaching keys that we can all learn from.